So not only if you want the external monitoring and the surveillance state, not only do you sacrifice your privacy and invite all that invasive attention and lose your impulsive freedom, you lose everything that's profound about your life, and someone takes it from you. They take your destiny from you. And that's no way to live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and anonymous troll demons. This is SCHIZO FM. If it wasn't obvious, we're talking about anonymity today, and we are joined by a special guest known as Suburban Warlord, which you might figure that isn't his real name, but I just wanted to let him introduce himself and give any plugs he wanted to. Suburb, please.
Yeah, hey. Well, I want to start with, yeah, that was a great video you posted. Did you record that? Did you make that yourself, or do you just find these?
I put the clips together over the music, but I actually am going to link the main like animation I stole because it was really funny and really good. I recommend people go to
okay. Yeah, that was
funny.
Yeah.
But I always still make. So.
Yeah, I'm glad someone made the connection between Jordan Peterson, like, not wanting anonymous accounts, but then also like the totalitarian state. It seemed like that was the obvious, like the thing that stood out most to me with him. Anyways, yeah. Hey, what's up? I'm Suburban Wolf. I'm the warlord of Suburbia. I can't tell if it's a LARP or not, but these kind of anonymous identity things are, they're kind of like little sigils you can create to like mold yourself. And yeah, I read on Substack. I don't use Twitter that much. I might throw some threads on Twitter soon, but I write on Substack under bit personality, bit like a computer bit, and personality like personality. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Cool, that's great. Yeah, I'll link them below. I actually do recommend your Substack. I referenced it a few times. It's pretty. I think you'll admit it's pretty esoteric. Lots of inside jokes. But
yeah, for sure.
I do think it's a good read.
Yeah.
Regardless, Suburb, I do want to ask you, what's the creepiest thing you've ever done, and like anonymously?
Anonymously. Oh shit. Creepiest thing I've ever done anonymously. Well, that's the question. Like, anonymous to who? Like, I feel like there's always like this weird, like, surveillance state. The NSA is watching everything I do, so it's like, I mean, maybe a proxy gives you a little bit of freedom. The creepiest thing I've ever done.
Like an internet.
Yeah. But like anonymously, creepiest. I've done a lot of creepy things, honestly.
This is why I asked you the question, because I know that. We can come back to you if you want some time to think.
We'll come back to that. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't think about that one because I am interested actually. Anyway, I did want to talk because I think that this is relevant to me and Owen specifically. I mean, maybe not so much because I don't know, like we're not, we're not part of the Arab Spring or anything like that, right? We just both have a creative pursuit that we decided to do a couple of years ago. And in terms of like, pseudonyms and all that sort of stuff, we took very different paths, at least, because when I started to write, at least, and appear on podcasts, etc., all that sort of stuff, like output creatively, I deliberately took the choice not to be like anonymous or pseudonymous. I just like put my name on it. And again, maybe this is like very lofty, but I thought that it would make me more authentic. And I mean authentic in the sense that I actually think the social restraint you show when you are under your own name is part of being authentic. I think the freedom that anonymity gives you, I think I might be slightly on the Jordan Peterson side of things with this one, or at least his recent take. I think that when the social restraints are lifted, that's actually like an inauthentic. I guess I kind of subscribe to maybe a Hobbesian way of seeing it, where that's kind of us in the state of nature is the anon side of things, and the actual authentic, like human thing which separates us from the animals is the fact that we have a name and we have a identity, we have an ego, and actually that makes you more authentic to yourself. Because actually, in fact, when people are themselves under their own name, cowardly people are more cowardly and brave people are more brave. That's what I honestly believe.
Yeah.
But again, another aspect of that is that when I write stuff, when I output stuff creatively, I also want the credit for it. If it blows up, I want the credit for it myself. So there's a selfish aspect to that as well. But I guess just to pass over to Owen, you did things differently, right? You started out with the whole RaymondKHessle moniker. At least on like Twitter and stuff, I know that you've published some of your ebooks and other stuff under that name. I guess maybe just talk us through the thought process. And it's also okay, like as an answer, if there wasn't actually much of a thought process,
No, there was a little bit of thinking behind it. I think what I wanted was to not be immediately Googleable. Yeah. But at the same time, I had no problem if someone really wanted to find out what my name was. I had no problem telling them. I had no problem if I wrote like a big long kind of ebook thing. I put my name on it. If my name would flash up on the screen during interview or something, I didn't really care. I just didn't want to like the thing that freaked me out was like the immediately Googleableness, that like you can have your kind of name put into this database and you would have like one screenshot of like something you said on Twitter taken out of context, and that would be your identity now. That's kind of what I found was helpful with the anonymity. Also kind of psychologically, I think that Zizek actually has this sort of take on anonymity. His argument is that when you have like a teenager playing video games online and they're like really obnoxious and like ignorant to whoever they're playing, and they're like insulting them and it's like, and the idea is that they are sorry, I can't remember the exact argument, but his basic point is that when you put a mask on, that's who you really are. It's not like a lie. It's not like the kid is pretending to be like this because it's safe. It's that once he has the mask, then he's his real self. So I feel like you have two different versions of like anonymity. Is it hiding your real self or is it revealing your real self? It's an open question, but it's an interesting question. Yeah,
it's weird because I kind of, in a way, I kind of subscribe to both viewpoints. I know that's contradictory. But I kind of see the point as like when, because I've always thought that ethics is what you do and no one's watching as well, which does contradict kind of what I'm saying. But I suppose what I'm trying to say on the actually going under your own name, going under your own identity, it says something more about human character. And I suppose the mask revealing who you actually are in terms of what you're willing to do reveals something about the way you think philosophically. I don't know if those two things are distinct or not. But I don't know, to be frank with you guys, I think, over the couple of years when I've been doing this stuff, either, whether it's writing or like doing stuff on podcasts and YouTube and all that sort of stuff, I've definitely said things which would be like, could get me fired, definitely 100%, particularly if they're taken out of context, 100%. But I'm not noticeable at all. Like, I'm definitely not noticeable. And I know that, again, the whole YouTube's one thing, but when it comes to books, it's definitely true that these things follow the Pareto distribution. Like 90% of people who buy your book aren't even going to read it, Like only like a small percentage are actually going to get to the back and read everything. So, you leave all the controversial stuff in the back. But basically, on the whole thing about being Googleable is weird because unless you've got a really unique name, like I don't know about me personally, Samuel Barnes is not a unique name at all. I share this name with a lot of Indians. Apparently, I don't know what's up with that. But basically, unless you've got like a Wikipedia article, like no one's going to instantly be able to Google you.
Yeah, my name is relatively Googleable. Like I think I might be maybe one of two people that like share my name, and my last name is not very common, but it's there's like a city I think. Oh no, yeah, but I'm with Owen. And like I don't, at least my work persona, like my professional website and all that is like when you Google me, that'll come up. But I've teased with just like kind of pushing the bounds of my comfort zone of like what I'm gonna say under my public name, like whether it's on Twitter or like even LinkedIn. Like I know Sam knows one time for like a week I changed my LinkedIn like with my real name to just be a photo of me smoking a cigarette and my job description was piece of shit. And
this is the weird thing though, because I remember that was hilarious. But the weird thing is, I think like, and this comes back to like social anxiety. Like people feel so anxious, just in general. I don't know if it's a modern thing or people are always feeling this way. You'd be amazed how little people pay attention to you, just in general.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like whether that's online or like whether people are going to specifically go to your LinkedIn and pay attention to the profile picture and what the actual job title is, or like if you're on the subway, people think that they sneeze funny on the subway and everyone thinks they're a dickhead all of a sudden. But you'd be amazed like what you can get away with, and just no one, like maybe someone cares for a millisecond, but no one's going to remember anything. There's too much going on. Like people don't have this much like capacity in their like bodies or brains to remember this stuff. So I suppose that's probably why I feel a bit more, even though I'm using my name, I'm a bit more laissez-faire about it. I think that most people don't care. And then by the time, if I ever get to a point where people care, I think that this will be its own thing anyway. I don't think I have to worry about work. So, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing about like what people, I feel like that's a huge part of it is like, what are people paying attention to? Right. Because if you like Owen's point is, most people like doing a job search, they're just going to look you up on Google, or if someone wants to find out something about you. But like, think about, the grudge someone would have to have for them to like dig through all your content. And like, I mean, I kind of think about this OPSEC kind of stuff every now and then. Like, okay, what does Twitter actually have about me? Like, what kind of information do they have about me? Like I think they have my phone number maybe, and like my email, my real name. Or like if you make a website, you have like, I worked on like a kind of absurd novelty website that's vaguely offensive for a year and a half. And there's like, like website protection, like you can look up, who owns the domain name. Or like, yeah, but there is kind of like an element of like paranoia to kind of anonymity, because you kind of feel like the universe, there is an element of like the universe is out to get me, or like you have to think about like who actually would like find your content and what would they do with it, and how would it hurt you materially or your family or whatever. So I'm actually not like that. I kind of like fluctuate back and forth with like being anonymous and experimenting with alt accounts, because it feels more like fun kind of like I like playing with those boundaries of like, do I have more freedom if I can wear this fun mask? Like what kind of myself, what part of myself does this bring out of me?
I wonder how much this comes down to temperament as well, because you said that setting up like alt accounts and doing fun stuff with specific alt accounts is fun. And I've set up like alt accounts before thinking, oh, I'll follow this group of people, or I'll use this account to say a certain thing, or maybe post the memes I wouldn't post on my main account. But then I've never found a situation where I've actually had to where I've actually used that. Like I've always just been like, if I didn't want to post something on my main account, I just wouldn't. I don't feel like I would post it. I don't know. I wonder if it's a temperament thing. I don't know if that has anything to do with authoritarian personalities or anything like that, but or just temperaments in general, like laissez-faire temperaments as opposed to more straight-laced temperaments. I don't know. It's an interesting question though.
I think there's a kind of professional side, and then there's a kind of social psychological side. Like, not that they're completely disconnected from, but so for example, I remember during the height of kind of cancellation stuff, which would have been sometime between 2016 and 2018, around those years. Would that be fair? That's the most crazy kind of internet for canceling.
Where it actually worked, where it actually was still effective, I'd say.
Yeah, but I remember at the time that there was companies that were being made that were involved in kind of human resources, and they were advertising services to if you pay them, if you're if you're a corporation or a company, you're hiring people, or you want to check in on your current employees, you can pay this company who will do the hard work that the company doesn't want to bother doing, which is to look through all of your social media from years and years and years and find something. And then it didn't seem to go anywhere. I remember the Joe Rogan podcast did a little segment, not a segment, but brought it up during one of their interviews with somebody, and it was everyone was freaking out, this is going to be the end of the internet. But I think at the end of the day, if you're going to fire every single person who has said something sort of politically incorrect on the internet, the range of things that are offensible got so big, and the amount of people on the internet got so big. So it's you're going to have no more employees. You're not going to have anyone left. So
that sounds like you're literally hiring full-time private investigators to dig through people to ultimately a company, unless someone is not doing their job, they ultimately don't want to fire them. That sounds like you're hiring someone. If you want to fire someone, then maybe that makes sense for the company. But also, like you said, I would wager that the percentage of people that if you really dug through everything, like MySpace, Facebook, you went through everything, you could probably find something to crucify them about. And I think the percentage of people that would apply to is so high that a company cannot bridge that gap. A company can't fire 50% of the people, because back in 2009 they made a joke about AIDS on Facebook or something, which we all did if we were teenagers. So sorry.
Yeah. My only fear is AI. Maybe AI will finally do this or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I just feel the incentives. Like I said, the incentives for a company, unless you're a shit employee, they don't want to fire you. Ultimately, they don't want to fire you. The only way those incentives would be there. Well, this is the point I wanted to make as well, is if there are ideological HR people, managers, and upper management, and I think this is probably a white pill, I suppose, is the reason why a product like that didn't succeed is because there aren't enough shitty HR managers and upper management to make that a successful product. Because
there is jobs being created from it, though. There are HR jobs being created from hiring people in order to scour through everyone's social media. So you kind of have a job market there as well as an incentive.
Potentially,
it didn't turn out that way, but
ultimately it's in the same pocket as hiring inclusion and diversity people. Ultimately, when the economy goes to shit, companies are that's the first thing that's gonna get cut from their budget. It doesn't actually serve it's an ideological position. It doesn't serve the functioning of the business. Like I said, it's too costly for a company to fire 50% of the people because they made silly jokes. Anyway, all I wanted to say was the worst people in the world are the people who saw that product and thought it was a good, people in HR and management who see that and think, oh, that's a great idea. They are bad people. That's what I would say.
I'd agree. Yeah.
What's the archetype of that? The tyrannical mother, the smothering mother, or something.
Yeah, I would say it's something. I don't know if it's maybe it's the devouring mother, but it's weird because it's like
The longhouse mother is a.
I don't know if they're trying to fire people because of their own resentment. Because the devouring mother is usually protective of something. It's usually protective of. But I suppose maybe it's the protected class that the offensive things are supposed to have offended. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, I had this kind of thought pop into my head, and it's kind of related to your thought about the teenagers using racist slurs anonymous. Like, I wonder how many people online use anonymous accounts because they just like don't want their mom to find out that they've been being racist online.
Yeah, I think it's often a lot more like kind of more common than that. It's not always about hiding, your professional role or anything, but just like, even for me, like, I just don't want a lot of kind of more liberal minded friends I have from school really involved in anything. Like, I don't want them following me on Twitter. I don't really want them reading anything I do, because I just don't think they will have the capacity to handle it or something. Like, it's almost like keep away from the children, it's just really don't give it to them,
Maybe I'm purity spiraling on this, and I guess I can give a reflection on my own experience, but I feel like at least maybe those people were friends, but they're clearly not like friends anymore. Like, I've had my first couple of divorces based on, well, you can probably guess a specific person who I've spoken to on my channel. People who I've known for like a decade.
I'm joking.
Maybe, I don't know. You never know. They don't like Irish people.
Yeah. How dare you speak to an Irishman, you bastard?
No, but like, I don't know. Their reasons weren't well thought out, and I don't know. I guess we're just not friends anymore. But again, it comes back to authenticity, right? I think that's the authentically where we are as people. I don't know. It's strange, but anyway, speaking of archetypes, I was prompted into this topic by what Jordan Peterson's been saying about it.
What's his?
I also feel like he's been contradicting himself. So I've got some clips that we can watch that I think there's lots to comment on, and I think that I don't know if you guys agree with me. I think it's fair to say, as someone who did have and probably still holds a bit of a soft spot for old Pete, I think he's definitely had a downward spiral this year in lots of ways, more so than before, maybe. It's a good one to play first. This is kind of the main crux of his argument when it comes to the anonymity stuff. Anyway, let's try this.
There is this social distancing phenomenon that's well known to social psychologists and personality psychologists, that if you're in your car and thereby sheltered, let's say, from immediate interpersonal feedback, you're much more likely to act in a self-centered and self-aggrandizing manner because you miss that immediate feedback. And there's absolutely no consequence whatsoever to behaving in a narcissistic and self-centered manner online, as far as I can tell. Then that tends to promote, especially for people who are rather disinhibited to begin with, that promotes a kind of self-aggrandizing narcissism that would be absolutely unthinkable in real life.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the car example because, like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was saying how we're talking about road rage, and what did he say? He said, "Oh, what did he say? I have this written down somewhere." He said, "Everything changes when you get out of your car." He was talking about like getting really.
I've seen videos where people are really angry in road rage, and then they get out of the car and it's very clear that one guy's a lot bigger than the other. That's my favorite type of confrontation.
Because they're both like, okay, both the computer and the car, they're these metal containers that like your essence, your person, your meat suit is mediated by a container made of metal. Like, so you can
I think I haven't actually read the specific place where she said it, but I noted that she said this. I think a good point is that they're extensions of your body in some way. I think Camille Paglia said, or Paglia, or however you want to pronounce it, she said that she described her car as a pagan extension of her body, which is quite interesting. I don't.
Yeah.
But I guess she kind of calls everything that she likes pagan, really, doesn't she? But I don't know. I don't know if we call it. I don't think we call it pagan, but in the computer is an extension of your mental capacities, I would say, perhaps, or maybe it's an extension of your ego. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like even if you're not anonymous, like if you're like Jordan Peterson is like getting really angry at people and being really angry, I guess like even if you're in your real name and not anonymous, I mean, anonymity gives you like an extra level of protection, but like even if you're using your real name, you still get like that level of distance. Like you can like insult people with your real name, and like if they live in Australia, like I can call them a dick or whatever, and then what are they gonna do? Fly and come like, I don't know.
Right, that is true.
There's no meat suit. I mean, there's no like.
Yeah.
There's lots of the sort of the journalist types on Twitter who are like, they buy into the fact that that's their identity, like, because that's a big part of journalism and politics is the Twitter sphere, basically. And so that is definitely themselves. They're not anonymous at all. But there's a different, I suppose this kind of applies to echo chambers in general, but like the real world does not correspond with the world as perceived on Twitter, right? And that is, as simple as, oh, look at all these tweets that are like, there's more tweets on Twitter that support Biden than Trump. Therefore, there must, like, the votes make sense. There must be more votes for Biden. But the second thing is, there are those stories and then everyone clapped, for example, and that didn't actually happen in real life. There is a pretend universe on Twitter as well. Which doesn't require anonymity. I don't think this is kind of where I think this is probably where Peterson's point falls over. Like, you don't need to be anonymous to be a narcissist. People are perfectly people are perfectly capable of being narcissists under their own name. Trust me.
If you're talking about like doing things you wouldn't normally do because you have a sort of moral distance from your own action, which is kind of what he's getting at, like having a title it can give you that. Like if you're in the police, I'm just doing my job. Like if you're a doctor, I'm just doing what doctors are supposed to do. Like even parents, they're like, oh, I'm just doing what's good for my kids, and they're clearly not. They're doing what's good for them. Like we always look for like a way to justify what we're doing. Like it's not just anonymity. It's like there's lots of different ways of doing it, and I think having a title is definitely one of those ways. Like, I'm a journalist, I'm just snooping around, so yeah, it sort of falls apart there. And like it also falls apart for me too when he looks at, like the reason people want that anonymity is because they want to sort of, let's say, distance themselves from the pressures of the moral of the moral pressures of the society. But the society's conventional pressures aren't always good. I mean, society can pressure you to be bad. Like, I was thinking of Schindler, like Schindler's List. It's like he was doing what he was doing secretly, and he was doing like the best thing you could do, because in that society, you were expected to do something pretty bad. So it's like, he interestingly, Peterson is sort of giving like, and it's kind of a typical thing for someone like him to do. It's to kind of give, and when I say someone like him, I mean someone with a very kind of modernist Western framework. It's to always give kind of civilizational structures the benefit of the doubt that they are always acting on the path of the good all the time. He can't imagine that, like, that those social pressures around you to stop you doing things may not be that simply good. They may be more complicated than that.
I'm fine if you don't agree with this, but I would replace the words modernist Western with just liberal, basically. And it's funny because I was thinking about this, and anonymous publishing, and so the really good examples of this are the founding fathers, pretty much. anonymous publishing has led to the form of liberalism we have today through the founding fathers, through the hegemony of the American regime. And it's very funny how that liberalism, how that like just the utility of anonymity has now, as it is the hegemony, and as it is the crumbling hegemony, is grown authoritarian claws, and is reaching back against the tools which, you know, spawned itself to protect itself, which is, I think it's a weird contradiction there. I've got more Peterson clips I do want to play. I don't know how many of them I can play, but I don't know.
That's a really interesting point. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, please.
That was really good. No, I was gonna make a joke about you being British and being salty about us, but yeah, low hanging fruit. We're gonna need to go
I think you'd be salty as well if your country was occupied, which you were, because you had a revolutionary war. So, you know, maybe 2023 is our year.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, cool. Which one am I going to do next? I think.
The psychopaths are kept under some regulatory control because they get identified and isolated and punished. But I don't think that happens online. Psychopaths don't learn from punishment very well at all, and they don't learn from threat very well at all. But online, all of that's been removed. There's nothing but a field of opportunity for predatory psychopaths. And so I wonder to what degree virtualizing communication and opening up this hypothetically democratic front has actually magnified the degree to which our societies are susceptible to disruption by Machiavellian psychopaths.
So this is interesting.
Boo.
Obviously, being a psychologist, he's coming at it from the psychological angle, right? So he's saying that, you know, anonymity online is enabling psychopaths. I think that underneath that, he has political reasons for putting that. I don't think his actual reasons are that he doesn't think psychopaths should be enabled online. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's kind of
Yeah, he's probably gotten too many. Oh, there's this guy. What's his name? Like Peter Sweden, Jar Jar fan 69. He always just like responds on Twitter with like a photo of like Jar Jar Binks with a huge dick, just like trolls.
I don't know who we're talking about. He's on the right, right?
No, he's on dirtbag left, I'd say. But he's kind of a one trick. He's kind of a one trick pony. Anyways, but yeah, I think Peterson's kind of motivated reasoning, just like he doesn't like the trolls that are bothering him. But I feel like his point about like psychopaths, I mean, is I feel like our entire political system is run by some combination of Machiavellian personalities.
And this is the thing: is the system that the liberal system he's protecting,
exactly
one that's set up so that psychopaths and narcissists are in positions of power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which he calls a meritocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's something. I heard recently that, like, you know, like back when we had, you know, small parochial villages or whatever, you'd have like the town psychopath, just like you would have the town drunk, right? And everyone would know, and you'd have certain ways of dealing with them. I don't know the exact details, so I'm kind of talking out my ass here, like at the edge of my thinking, as Peterson would say. But it feels like this kind of like individual liberal Western culture, right? It's like, yeah, just what you're saying. It kind of enables like psychopaths. They have no outlet or no way to be contained, like in their insanity, in their dark triad, whatever. So they just kind of like run the financial system and the political system.
Well, one of the genuine problems with the modern system of all people being able to move around is that narcissists actually, once they completely exhaust one area, they literally move to a different area. This is shown as well in the clinical literature. Like you said, back in the day, they weren't able to move. So everyone who would know who the town psychopath is and all the narcissists and wouldn't trust them, you know.
Do you think there's something about, I was thinking about this too, because like his arguments don't make sense really. And I was wondering what the motivation behind that hatred towards anonymity is, because it really seemed like it came out of nowhere. It didn't really seem like it fitted the rest of his usual concerns very well. You know, it seemed like this one weird concern, and I was wondering what, like, where it came out of. And I think there probably are political reasons, as you were saying, but I think it's also maybe the fact that he's a clinical psychologist, or he was trained as one, and like, you can't clinically psychologize someone if they're anonymous, or can you? Because maybe, I'm not sure, like, it's possible you can, but I would imagine that that from a traditional psychological perspective, you would imagine that it wouldn't work. And like, is there something kind of threatening about that? That there's something like, it's like the Joker in Batman, who's another kind of anon figure, and you know, there's this kind of attempt to, I think, Bruce Wayne or somebody says, he must have a backstory. Where does he come from? Who is he inside? And then Alfred or someone just says, some people are just fucking crazy. And it's like that, from a psychological perspective, they hate that. They hate the idea that someone can just be something with no explanation. They need a backstory. They need a kind of psychodynamic and Oedipal complex, a kind of function or something of some sort, whether that be it's chemicals in their brain, or whether that be it's because their mother did this or that. They need a fucking explanation. Now, there probably is an explanation to most of us from kind of a psychological perspective, but there's still that thing within humans which just can't fucking be explained. It's that weird kind of like, you know, thing that just can't be explained. And I think it's that maybe there's people like Peterson can't stand. From his kind of psychological perspective, he hates that, you know.
I know a couple psychologists, and any psychologist worth their salt will say that they need a complete picture before they can make any sort of diagnosis about personality disorders. They need to know things about your childhood. They need to know blah, 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 all this other stuff, right? And, you know, Peterson's already saying, oh, I saw this weird account on Twitter and I definitely know this guy's a narcissist. Come on, you're better than this, really. Like, I want to give one controversial theory about why Peterson has taken this turn all of a sudden, and evidence that I've got evidence as well that he has taken a turn from a couple of years ago. And I also want to, after that controversial statement, want to lighten the mood a little bit by saying something hilarious about Peterson that he did on Twitter. Okay, so the controversial thing I want to say, and I'm going to say this regardless of what your opinions are, because we all have different opinions on it, but I just want to say it because this is a matter of objective fact, is he started saying weird shit on Twitter and writing poems and stuff when people started asking him about the JQ. People started asking him about Israel, right? This is when he started doing this stuff. As soon as the Israel-Palestine stuff kicked off, all of a sudden he didn't like the speaking truth to power, which for years and years and years he's been upholding as one of the best things from Christianity, one of the best things, you know, about liberalism. All this sort of stuff is speaking truth to power. Now all of a sudden he wants speech to be locked down all of a sudden. That's why I think that is. It doesn't matter what your opinion on that is. It just seems the correlation is there, basically. And to lighten the mood, one of my favorite trolls of Peterson was the time someone sent him that, I don't know if it's a video or an image, that fetish video of some guy in a machine that would, make him ejaculate. And someone told Peterson that it was a Chinese semen harvesting farm, and he believed it. And I think that's quite funny. You can look that up. You have to Google it yourself and be careful with the words you use.
Wow.
But it's true. Anyway, let's do.
Where in this timeline is the whole Michaela Peterson, Andrew Tate thing? Because I feel like he also has a weird, maybe not, but I feel like people give him shit for.
I'm happy to say that I don't give a shit about her or him, or know enough Peterson law to tell you the answer. I'm happy about that. I'm proud about that. You can look that up.
Do you think the Zizek debate affected him? Because he go like it was
googling what is the Communist Manifesto on stage.
Yeah, because it was post Zizek debate that he seemed to go a bit mad. And like, to be fair to him, that period I actually liked him some of the times when he was saying certain things, but he did also go a bit mad like after that debate. So he literally did go mad for a while, had to go to Russia, all this kind of medical stuff. But like, did that debate kind of mess with him? Because maybe...
I think you're definitely correct. I just think that the turn on anonymity definitely happened when he did a personal video. This is a message to Christians. He did another one, which was a message to Muslims. Someone asked him, oh, how about a message to the Jews? And he was like, I think his literal response was, you dirty rat. And it's like, well, okay, so let's talk about the protected class here. Speaking of identity politics,
I tweeted something yesterday about this because I think that some liberals have like a view of Judaism, because Judaism historically it didn't have a state, that they kind of see it as like the true liberal religion, because it can't really be accused of like kind of sectarian aggression towards other groups. Christianity and Islam really can be accused of that. But as soon as Judaism gets a state, it starts doing something similar. So it's like, oh, well, then there is no truly liberal religion. It's just like, as soon as a religious group gets a state, they act in ways which offend liberal assumptions about human nature and so on. It's just universal. So it's like, that's my kind of little theory about why some liberals have this kind of inability to criticize Israel.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, I would say that just the fact that you're going to call one race of people the chosen people is a bit sectarian to start with. And, you know, to Islam and Christianity's credit, at least they are egalitarian in the sense that all people are welcome if they accept the certain Messiah as Lord Savior, all that sort of good stuff. Anyway, I think the chosen people might be another episode, or maybe not. I don't know. So
Mormons.
Anyway, I just wanted to show.
No, I'm sure you got it right. It's the Mormons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we're all Mormon here. This is a Mormon podcast, guys. I just wanted to show a clip from Peterson from a couple of years ago that just proves the point. Like what we've just listened to. Now compare that to what I'm about to play.
If you want the external monitoring and the surveillance state, not only do you sacrifice your privacy and invite all that invasive attention and lose your impulsive freedom, you lose everything that's profound about your life, and someone takes it from you. They take your destiny from you. And that's no way to live. That's the tyranny that we've struggled against in the West successfully for, I would say, in one way or another for a number of thousands of years, and with a substantial amount of success.
So quite a different tact from the other clips we saw.
Yeah.
I might try and. So doesn't Heidegger have a concept called like thrownness, like your thrownness into being?
Yeah, it's Geworfenheit. And that's the way of describing, you know, I guess it's kind of describes the philosophical situation of being just you're just an embodied person, right? At some point, whether you're you're 3, 4, or 5, all of a sudden you have your first memory, right? And then you're all of a sudden conscious. But you're in this embodied form. You're a person. You don't know, whether reality is real or not. You don't know whether it's going to end now. You don't know whether it's going to end in 100 years. You don't know. But we find ourselves in this situation as embodied subjects in Geworfenheit, in thrownness. That's my best description as someone who hasn't properly read Heidegger. So.
I mean, that's way better than I could do. I was going to make this like kind of surface level connection to Sam, what you were saying about your name later. Like you don't choose your name, like you're thrown into your name. Like you were thrown into the world and like everyone's like, you're Samuel Barnes, right? Like this is kind of, and having a new name or like creating a new identity, right? Like whether it's a pen name or a Twitter handle, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe you could relate it to Heidegger's notion of authenticity. I don't know. But your name is something that you're.
That's an interesting point, because I did start this off by saying, I said stuff about authenticity, but I also said that, in an egotistical fashion, I kind of wanted the credit for the things I was going to do myself. But in a way, like my name and my identity isn't something I decided on myself, So I don't know. Maybe it's more egotistical to have a pseudonym. I don't know. I don't know, because it's a creation of your own mind, right? It's not a creation of some random other parents who spawned you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to see what Nikki Haley has to say about governor of something Carolina? I don't know.
South Carolina.
Okay, let's see what she has to say about anonymity.
She's a Republican woman, person of color. So
the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say.
Accountability.
And they know their pastor and their family members going to see it. It's going to help our kids, and it's going to help our country.
Their pastor and their family member.
It's interesting how she uses the word civility. She says, and then we'll have some civility. And it's like, this is like, again, kind of a critique I have of like the direction Western society took, is that it became obsessed with manners and it stopped caring about like what really matters, like substance, essences to things. It's a kind of, you know.
Keep pin that thought for a little bit, because I've got a clip that really relates to that. So
okay, I'll come back to it. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just point out that, again, this is something I'm really coming around on, is that, I mean, pretty much every Western country, but there is no fucking difference between the two biggest parties. This woman is supposed to be a Republican, right? They're supposed to be the gun-loving, freedom-loving, but they want you to give your fucking ID over to have a Twitter account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Because like how could you have it in your mind? Like, and like, I respect the gun control and gun freedom debate in America. I'm not American. I don't really get the need to have a machine gun, but like, I'm not gonna, you know, like I'm not gonna like judge anybody, right? But like, it's amazing that you could have the opinion of A, you can have a machine gun, and B, you can't have a fucking anonymous account. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. The pen is mightier than the sword.
Well, that's exactly. The pen's mightier than the sword. Yeah.
But I mean, like, she could even understand an algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, we need to see these algorithms, and it's like, bitch, do you even know what a fucking? Tell me 3 sorting algorithms. You can.
I would struggle to do that, and I've got a degree in science.
Yeah, it'd just be another thing for like journalists to look at and like find a little piece of code that's like, oh, look at this. Actually, part of why I think Jordan Peterson might feel more trusting of Twitter is because it's been taken over by Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is kind of like this, like, you know, like individual Ubermensch. So maybe he just like, if Twitter was taken over, like was still owned by like social justice warriors or whatever, he would. I don't feel like he would be making this call. I feel like he just has this. I'm guessing he has a soft spot for Elon because of his mythos and his individual persona. So you're not actually giving your identity. You're not actually giving your government to the government. Your ID to the government. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a kind of typical, you know, like it's okay for private corporations to do something, but it's not okay if the government does something. But yeah, like I think the Elon buying Twitter really kind of melted a lot of people's brains. I've just noticed that Twitter has just been like really like this kind of shit show of, like there was this expectation that it was going to be this kind of freedom of speech paradise. And at the end of the day, most people use the internet to just fucking distract themselves, you know, and post stupid shit and make fun of people. And that's not, there's nothing new to, you know, or unique about Twitter in that regard. It's remarkable because if you go on to like Facebook, which is just a gulag for fucking normies, like Facebook is the worst website in the fucking world. You're going to have people like using their names, just insulting each other the whole time and arguing with each other. Like, there is no civility just because you have a fucking you've got your face and name on the screen. Like I see anonymous people having like the most sophisticated civil conversations, you know, as if we're back in ancient Athens, you know, and it's like, I don't know, it's inconsistent. I don't see the real threat of anonymity, but it is interesting how you do have a lot of these kind of like Republicans and liberals on both sides complaining about this now, because like I'm doing a series on Fukuyama at the moment, and I've been watching hours of his recent lectures, or his lectures from like 10 years ago. But his recent lectures, he has also been saying things about, you know, since Elon Musk took over Twitter, he's making algorithms that are pushing one narrative and not the other narrative, and you've got all these claims coming out now. So there could be something in the works in the next 5 years or so. I would be worried about, where they could actually be. I could see certain politicians in the West trying to properly enact some sort of regulation where you do have to actually have your real name and attached to your profile, if possible.
I just wanted to. This was something I had in my notes for like maybe another episode. I didn't know when I was going to use it, but I just wanted to say on the topic of like what normies do on the internet. Can I do this? Okay, sorry guys. This is what I wanted to do. So this is like November last year, but this is a pretty good like view of like what most people do online, right? So Google is number one, which you can kind of discount because you know, it's just a gateway to other shit basically. YouTube, which I'm not surprised is that high up these days, to be honest with you. Like I am a YouTube addict, I'll be honest with that one. Facebook, I'm guessing most of these views are from like India and stuff. I don't think most people in the Western world use India. The important stuff to note here is the fact that Pornhub is like that far up.
What's X videos? Is that Twitter's video platform?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't pretend like you don't know. We all know what this guys. And then to be frank, I don't know. Like, I mean, half of Twitter is pornography, right? And then, you know, most of Reddit's pornography. Most of Instagram, I probably would consider it pornography these days. Oh, look, xnxx.com. That's also a porn site. Oh, spankbang.com. I wonder what that is. Like,
and also, you only use Yahoo if you're typing something in that you don't want other people to see.
And this is. I wanted to come back to something that Nikki Haley said. Proves the point that both sides of the aisle in whatever liberal democracy we're talking about is the fucking same and full of boomers and full of technical illiterates. Because she said like Russian bots, Iranian bots, It's like there are like malicious actors online, but most of the internet traffic is looking at pornography, and bots don't look at pornography. Humans look at pornography. Dudes look at pornography. Like, if there are bots, they're such a small like percentage, and it's so annoying because the left and right does this now, and they just anything that like if there's any dissent from what they say, they just blame it on bots. And I don't understand. Like, they don't understand that, you know, like actual bots have those weird phishing links in their profiles. They have pictures of chicks and they like Owen's posts. Those are actually bots. Like Putin Lover 69 is actually like some dude from Wisconsin who actually is like a Putin lover for whatever reason and likes guns and likes Trumps. You know, like it's weird, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
This narrative though goes back to like the 2016 election, because when Trump won, there was all the claims that it was Russian bots and Russian accounts manipulating people, and like I remember, and like I think it's somewhat due to the fact that we have a very old ruling class. So they kind of they don't really understand the technology, or at least they're not, like, I don't understand it from a kind of technical point of view, but I understand it from a user point of view. And old people often don't understand it from a user point of view or a technical point of view. So they're like, I don't know, like it's sort of breaking their brains. And there was this, but like, I remember just talking to like boomer relatives back then, and they literally thought the Russians had hacked into the US election and actually like, oh, we don't like Hillary, we want Trump. They actually thought, like, I remember having a kind of like discussion with like a few of my other relatives. You realize what they're claiming is that whatever Facebook post or some bullshit. Like, they don't really think that they. And it was like, no, they're like, no, they did. They hacked in. And these are well-educated people with degrees and professional careers and so on. These aren't like fucking backward peasants. You know what I mean? It was quite incredible. Like, and I think that's the advantage of kind of saying things like, ooh, bots and hacking and throwing out these terms, because you do have an elderly ruling class, but you have an elderly population who own all the assets and an elderly population who vote a lot more than the younger population. So you can kind of trust that if you just throw a few words out there, they will have no way to really evaluate. It's like, well, what do you mean by hacking? Like, to them, they don't really care what hacking really means. It's like, yeah, like Putin was there, like, I'm gonna fucking change the result, you know.
There's two things to cover there. So the first one is, again, I love this topic and I will do an episode on it because I think it's real and a law of the universe. It comes back to the Pareto distribution, right? Most people read the headline of a news article. Like 90% of people read the headline of a news article and do not read the rest of it. 90% of people read the title of a research paper and do not read the rest of it. And further, 90% of the people who went further than the title read the abstract and do not read the actual paper. And this goes on forever and ever and ever. They see Russian bots interfere with election. They do not read the article which says there might have been some targeted advertising on sites like Facebook. They think that someone hacked into the machines and hacked the election. And then this ties into also the wonderful, wonderful world that we live in, where we live in a world of managerial midwits, where because of Dunning-Kruger syndrome, they assume that they know that hacking means that someone hacked the actual machines. And those are the people you're talking to, you know, these educated people who have just enough IQ points to go to a modern university.
Yeah, and they vote. Yeah, they vote.
And they're just as entitled to vote as you are, and get their votes hacked or whatever. Anyway, I had a couple more things to finish off. Yes, I had here's a clip that it was really random how I found it, but it's it's to do with the point you made about civility, Owen. And it's from the Queensland Department of Education, which I believe is somewhere in Australia. I hope I'm not mixing it up with New Zealand. I think it's in Australia. I'm pretty sure about this. But it's about anonymous accounts in schools. So I thought we'd play this clip.
Ooh.
An anonymous account for my school. I thought it would be funny if everyone sent me photos and confessions to post. My account became really popular. I was getting so many messages. It felt good to own a page that everyone wanted to be a part of. Some of the stuff people were sending me was a bit risky, but I figured I wasn't the one who was actually taking the photos. I was only sharing the posts they had created. And that's when things got out of control. Some of my friends said I'd gone too far, but I didn't believe them. Everyone thought the account was funny. Well, I thought everyone did. I didn't realize I actually hurt people. We had a whole school assembly, and the principal talked about how negative anonymous accounts can cause significant impact and distress to the individual students targeted and to the entire school community. That's when I realized I'd gone too far. My account was deleted because of all the reports it was getting. I tried to fix what I had done. I know that sorry doesn't fix all the hurt I caused, but I'm learning to make the right choices. We all have a responsibility to be kind and respectful to others online. Ask before you share information or post a photo of someone online, and if they say no, or they're not sure, respect their decision and don't share it. Be kind online.
Any thoughts, guys?
You go ahead first.
I love that.
I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Oh my gosh. I think give that girl a medal for getting all that. Like, I don't know, I feel so conflicted because it's like, that's what it's like teenagers are given Lord of the Flies to read for a reason, because like, You know, Lord of the Flies, that one where it's like the boys are all on an island and they just like devolve into like this uncivilized chaos where they murder each other.
Sure.
And it's like, I don't know, the anonymous account. I feel like these are like, it shows like the underbelly, the dark underbelly, the shadow of like what these teenagers are thinking. They're all like talking shit about each other anyways. Like, and now just like it's brought to light, and it's so interesting that like that's how teenagers like use the internet. Like the internet is like this unsupervised Lord of the Flies like situation where they just kind of like, there's literally no adult supervision, right? Like when they're on Snapchat or fucking whatever. And now like sounds like her anonymous account just like became this kind of lightning pole for all of these like demons and shadows to come out, and funny stuff too, right? Yeah.
I know, there's a couple of things off the back of that. So I have a controversial opinion about Lord of the Flies, which is that it's all male, right? They're all boys, right? I think it's anti-male propaganda anyway to start with.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think so. Number two, I don't think that video is like based on a real example. I think it's like HR puffy bullshit. But anyway, Owen, I want to hear what you thought about that.
Well, you know, this because it's Australia as well. It reminds me of when I was in school and we were doing drink driving awareness, because drink driving used to be really, really bad in Ireland because
very important for Ireland.
Because you're Irish.
Yeah, well, because people drink a lot, and the pub is like really far away from a lot of people's houses. There's no buses, you know. So, but anyway, so we had basically a massive re-education campaign to bring down the drink driving numbers, and it was all Australian videos. Like when we were brought into school and we had this big assembly and we had to like have these classes about the way it was all Australian videos. I don't know why Australia they just love a bit of re-education. I don't know why, but anyway. It's funny though because these videos that are kind of teaching people how to behave online, they speak about it in the same way that we've previously had to educate young people about, for example, things which really could hurt them, like drink driving, like drugs, and also there's a kind of security state terrorism component to it in there as well. But we're dealing with just like social stupid shit that every fucking teenagers go through, right? Like it's just, you know, she was mean to him, he was mean to her, and it's being treated as if it's this immediate threat. Like it's like people are you know, crashing in cars, they're dying, it's terrorism, blah 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 blah. So it's pretty weird how we're treating people's emotional states, you know, like kind of telling them if someone says something online to you, you kind of have and you don't like it, you kind of have the right now to report on them as if they are driving around after drinking a bottle of vodka, as if they are planting bombs under bridges or something, you know. It's scary in that way.
Yeah, those are all good points. I feel like it's very possible that Australia has those two issues you mentioned. I'm aware that they like to drink, and I'm aware that there's a fuck ton of lands they have to drive to get to the bar. So, but I guess I think what I wanted to point out from that, and I think it's definitely related to current news, but I think what's interesting is this sort of, so that right there is a work of managerialism and HR culture. That is what that is. That is a product of that. But I think what's being done now, especially when you have you know, propaganda, protected classes and protected nations, is that managerialism and HR culture is extended to companies and nations as well. One of the big things that is flagged up there is asking permission to post stuff. What is very interesting looking at the laws around the world, because, you know, in some states in the US, you need like permissions to photograph someone or record someone, this sort of stuff. I know in the UK, like you're allowed to video if you want, if it's a public space and that sort of stuff. But it's very, very interesting. One of the points in there is that, like, you know, ask permission if it's okay. And it's almost like these days we need permission from corporations and certain states, certain nation states to like post certain things in case, and the example given there, and this actually kind of applies to countries as well, in case we hurt someone's feelings, right? one of the funny things in there as well is that, you know, the happy part of the story is when she gets so many reports that her account gets suspended. No talking about whether those reports are founded or unfounded, actually go against any terms of service or anything like that. And I suppose, you know, speaking of what bots can actually do, they can mass report, for example.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that video made me think anyway. Don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
Well, I'm glad you brought up terms of service. Because it's
yes,
like
things that we always agree to, but we never read.
Exactly. Who actually reads those? And like you said, like, you know, Facebook just has, or Instagram or TikTok, they just have like these huge servers of like, you know, people's likeness, like part of people's souls on there. And it's like strange.
It's what's interesting is that terms of service, all the people, it seems very ridiculous in a digital age because it's so obvious because it's in front of you. You definitely don't read the thing and you tick the thing and you agree to it. But this has a relation with law as such, because there are a lot of laws, and this is particularly true of British law before the I guess cultural change to codify laws. It's very true that you know, with the US, you guys in the French tradition like to write down, codify your laws and have them written down. Yes, okay, the interpretation is, you know, up for grabs, but you codify your law, you actually have it written down. What's interesting about English common law is it's based on precedent and stuff that's just already in place. Like there is no English constitution at all, for example. And so to extend that point, what I wanted to say was, what's funny is that people think that the whole terms of service, there's that Black Mirror episode called Joan is Evil or whatever it's called, which is quite funny, where she agrees to like Netflix terms of service and she's put into the episode by AI and stuff like this. She didn't agree to it. But what people don't realize is that, you know, the average American breaks several federal crimes every single day. If you jaywalk in the US, you've broken a federal crime, and that's something that can stop you from traveling, can stop you from like leaving the state, for example, can put you in prison for a long time. Like, people don't realize like how much that. I guess I would say that I think this is where, yeah, I don't know. I think that law is bullshit, and it's not the law that is the power maker. It's where the law is applied and where it's not applied.
I think they want to, like, sometimes when I see this stuff about, you know, about really vague laws that don't really have concrete understandings and so on, very manipulative use of terms of service and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a certain segment in the Western ruling class, if we can put it like that, that is looking at China's model of like social credit systems and kind of saying, how do we get kind of like a liberaler version of that? How do we get like a kind of version where we basically
social credit light?
Well, yeah, like social credit light, like we've gamified the entire legal system in a certain biopolitical way, but we don't. It's not as formal as the Chinese one. I think the managerial revolution gives the power for them to do something like that, you know.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that it usually has the same consequence, but it's done in a soft power way, and it's because it's done in a managerial way. It doesn't seem as authoritarian, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Can you guys handle one more Peterson clip before we wrap up?
I can't wait. I can't wait for another one.
I'll prep my Kermit impression.
Clean your room.
Tasty, mommy. Milky, please be hasty. Refreshing drink from mummy's udders. I want mummy's and no others. Give it, give it, give it now. Give me milky, you lazy saw. Until you do, I'll scream and shout. I'll cry, I'll whine and stomp about. Until my belly's full and happy. I refuse to take a nappy.
Wow. Full disclosure, that's AI. That's not actually
That's awesome. Oh, I wanted to bring this up. So you know Drill is on Twitter, DRAL.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. He was doxxed in like 2017 and nobody cared. But my friend and I, we have a theory that, or he's like, Drill's tweets have gotten like bad and flat in like the last 2 or 3 years or so. Like they've been written by AI.
When I was first on Twitter, I thought some of his OG stuff is so hilarious, but I did unfollow in the last few years because it's just like, what?
Yeah. So I have a new Turing test. It's called the NPC Turing test. The NPC personality Turing test. It's if you could you like anonymous accounts or regular people, right? Like I feel like there's gonna be so many more bots online, and it's like if you could be replaced by a bot and no one would notice, then you fail the NPC Turing test.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Yeah, like an NPC, like a bot that could read like CNN, Wall Street Journal, all this sort of stuff, and like produce your opinion. Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome. I think that's a good place as any to leave it. Thanks, guys. It's been great.